Therese Swenson, and my show is called These Times. When I started doing public access, I was calling myself About Town. You may have seen some of my shows. I've been doing them for about 15 years. Then Tough Times up in Oregon. Southern Oregon University has a digital media center. So I was Tough Times up there. And now with COVID, I started calling myself These Times because things really were changing. So when I talk about public access television, I'm here in southern Siskiyou County in a town called Weed, California at 616 South Weed Boulevard. And we have a little TV studio just off of the campus, which is the College of the Siskiyous. And we have a TV studio, and we'd really like to get you involved, get you invited, either come on down and be on our board and help us get more community involvement, or you could produce a show at home if you have iMovie, and if you keep it under 30 minutes, we can include it in our daily programming. But in southern Oregon, we have a what's called a programming block. I'd like to hold this up and show you. I know John used to have a copy that he put in a window, but I'm not sure if I have that right now. Now that we're in the studio, we have new equipment and things. But what's interesting about this programming block, I'll explain to you, is in Southern Oregon, they have well-being and lifestyle and education, nature and ecology, music, soup, daytime TV, news and politics. We have a lot more producers up in Southern Oregon than we have here. We'd like to get more people involved. Public access means anybody can join in. This isn't like national public radio or PBS. This is local community television, and we really need to preserve this. It's so important. But there are many different categories like arts and culture, entertainment, music. They had children's shows on the weekends, faith and spirituality. They had one particular preacher that they would record and play because people like to hear him. So I'd like to get you involved in public access. More than ever, we need to brainstorm ways to keep public access available because media is so controlled. I'm sure you've noticed when you watch TV, the main stations like ABC, CBS, NBC, if you watch any of the networks, it's always the same 5 talking points. Like they've all decided what they're going to tell you is news today. Like maybe this week it was Tucker Carlson's tanning salon story. It's like all of a sudden it overruns the news and it's not really local news. So we want to get people like me on and you to come on down and get involved or to provide us with content about local community events. We need to save this TV studio. You know, I always used to start my show telling everybody to get the newspaper. I'm a little more apprehensive about that now because I don't know if you've noticed if you buy the paper or read the paper, but it really seems to be that not only are TV stations controlling the news that you get, but Gannett is a big company. It used to be Gatehouse, and I used to work in the mailroom at the newspaper when it was Gatehouse, and it changed to Gannett, and now Gannett is like USA Today. And I don't know if you've noticed, it doesn't matter where you are, the newspaper that you pick up, whether it's the Mount Shasta Herald or the Siskiyou Daily News, it pretty much has the same stories. And it isn't always local news. I get a local paper to have local news. This will have Texas or North Carolina or how to plant a garden in Montana, or, you know, it's not really local news. And we kind of have a ghost ship at our old news station. The Mount Shasta Herald office is a ghost ship. Somebody somewhere is figuring out what 10 stories are going to be in all the papers. I called my girlfriend in Reading. I said, this isn't my local news. And I listed off about 6 stories. She said, that's what's in the record searchlight. Is that the paper in Reading? Anyway, so it is frustrating. I still want us to be involved in the news. One of the things that frustrates me is I'm certain they get a lot of letters to the editor, and they maybe print 1. They do have an opinions place where regular people put opinions, but I would like to encourage people to write to the paper even though I'm not certain they're publishing it. Today is April 20th, and because I'm in Weed, California, I was going to tell you in the paper they had this Weed city limit sign. Now, this is not the official city limit sign, and I don't think you can see it, but it says population 420, and it says elevation high. Now, we do have a wonderful florista is on the main street, and it's our dispensary. And today they have music, and they had planned for a big event on the main street. They had a big food booth, and people were going to set up booths, and it started pouring rain, and the wind was like really whipping up. So they moved everything indoors, and I don't know if you're a local, you might recognize the name Jimmy Limo. He's playing inside as people are shopping in the florista, and I'm sorry I don't have a picture of florista because I didn't get it ready for this show, but I did walk downtown and take a picture of the Black Butte Saloon. And if you've lived around these places or driven Highway 97 and stopped in Weed, you've seen this old Black Butte Saloon. And I had a picture of the old washed out sign on the window, and then the black wrought iron. There was the window. It's kind of all washed out. But then I got a picture down the street just to remember, if you remember, this is the face of the Black Butte Saloon. And it used to be a very popular dance spot. All of us used to come here in the late 70s, early 80s. This was quite, I don't know if you remember, but when you're in college, you kind of have 6 or 8 people that you hang out with, and you say, hey, Friday night, let's go to the Black Butte Saloon. So that's Weed, California. And on 420, I just had to tell you that I'm here today. Now, about the newspaper, if you buy the Siskiyou Daily News, you usually get the Rayleigh's shopping. If you buy the Mount Shasta, the Weed Press, or the Dunsmuir News, you get the Ray's shopping market, so you can plan ahead before you go shopping. And then they also have these little sections like Parade and I Spry and Relish. And the thing about these is they're kind of like People magazine. They usually have somebody famous on them, and they usually have a cooking idea, which I do find some good cooking ideas in here. And sometimes like pimento cheese dressing or something. I didn't go through and check these to see my favorite, but I do want to encourage you to get the paper every week and just see if there's something going on. We also have a new restaurant downtown Weed right next to the Florista, and this is important because they have frozen yogurt. And if you need a little treat after you've gone shopping, so you can see right there it says the spot. Well, just down the street is the Florista, the dispensary. But inside the spot, I don't think I took a picture. Oh, I did. Inside you can see they have cheery yellow booths, and then booths out front. You're looking out the front door. And then it says the spot, cafe and frozen yogurt. But they also have wonderful sandwiches. I got a Reuben one day, it was delicious. And today I got a grilled cheese because it was cold and rainy and I was getting ready to do my show. So I'd like to encourage you to come downtown Weed and go to the spot. Here I am today trying to get you involved in public access and the newspaper. And the Fourth Estate, the press, the news media, they have an ability to frame political issues. And so I think it's really important that we realize that misinformation can be given to people on the news, and we need to get involved so we make sure that we're giving more than one side of an issue. So as I talk to you about, I try not to talk about politics a lot because I don't want to upset people, but I want everybody to be involved. We all kind of have a community responsibility to be a citizen, you know, citizenship. But to start with, I'm here in the middle of April, and I want to encourage everybody. You know how you go around to stores and things and they offer you calendars, and we all say, oh, that's okay, it's in my phone. But you know, if anything happens to your phone, you could end up losing an important So I'd like to encourage families especially to put up a calendar so that the kids can have all of their events, everybody can see everybody's stuff. I think this should be pinned up in a kitchen where everybody keeps track of all of their social events coming and going, and sports. We're now getting back into life with COVID. I know we're all so tired of hearing the word COVID and masks, but my feeling, and I even said this a year ago, the people that are interested in herd immunity should be allowed to get the virus and get herd immunity and build up antibodies that way. It fears me because I worked in public health, and I set up a family practice, and I worked in free clinics, and so I have opinions about immunizations, and I worked in the immunization clinics where everybody got their kids vaccinated for school, and we did see measles, mumps, and rubella, and those things kind of go away. When COVID started, we didn't have a universal nationwide agreement about the immunizations, so we do have people that have been immunized with the mRNA vaccine, which is a lab-induced response to help your body create antibodies. And then there was so Pfizer and Moderna were the two mRNAs. We're kind of tired about hearing it. And then there was also J&J, which is what I got. And then people that got herd immunity. And in years, we're going to see which one of those buildup of immunities was long lasting. So really, we're kind of a scientific experiment. And I feel like people that got vaccinated will reduce their chance of going to the hospital, and people that have the herd immunity will build up antibodies and may or may not be sicker, but it's a choice. So I think we have to just protect ourselves if we're immunocompromised, or protect our family if you want to wear a mask. But I don't think people should be upset about who wears a mask or who doesn't. I think we should choose it for personal preference. I watched a show that said it's airborne, but we all have to accept that we're breathing all the same air, and we're all going to be going through these variations of this virus and building up immunities, and hopefully we can stay strong. But one of the things that comes up when I talk about that is I want to talk to you about your to-do list, estate planning. You know, we've lost 1 million people to this virus. And across the country, we've had people that died before their time, they weren't prepared. And I really think I want to remind people that greed is a crime of opportunity. And even though you've made it clear to your next of kin what your best wishes are, oftentimes family members can be coerced or change your will. So it's important to consider having a trust and wills. But you know, if you want to give your car to your sister who's been driving you at all your medical appointments, you might want to make sure that you've put her name on that pink slip and signed it over to. You know, I think we need to protect, when we've got 1 million people that died, I'm sure there's some estates that weren't planned. And all of us, I don't care what age you are, if you've bought a house or you have a car, or you have anything that you want to pass along, you need to think seriously about securing that wish of yours. Because people have passed away and their best wishes haven't always been honored. So I just thought I'd remind people that this might be something you have on your to-do list, is to get your paperwork in order. So another thing I want to talk about, because this is the middle of April, is fuel reduction. We're getting ready to be a year where we have drought, and fuel reduction is the word that we use about being safe, because we live here in southern Oregon, Northern California. We have a lot of timber and grasses and things that dry up and become fuel. So we want to clear that away from our house. And the CAL FIRE, I worked with CAL FIRE for a few years in Dunsmuir, and we did a lot of clearing. We would take a parcel and we'd clear it. And I think you'll notice along the freeways, places are getting cleared, so that when a fire comes, it doesn't stop and burn. The reason they reduce those fuels is so when a fire comes through, it just keeps burning and keeps going. And that way it doesn't really torch and burn the trees, it burns by them. Or around your house, if there's not a lot of brush and pine needles and pine cones and wood stacked, your house may not burn, the fire just might burn by you. We have seen that happens. At the top of Lemoyne, Mike Refkin, he so carefully cleared out his place. He worked for CAL FIRE, and when the fire came up Lemoyne and burned a lot of his neighbors' homes, his house, you could see it was burned all around the outside edge. But because he had cut back all the burnables, the fire just burned right past him. And he did have green lawns, and he left sprinklers on his roof. But his house survived because he cleared back the burnables. So you can try and protect your house. I think you may have noticed that in Dunsmuir last year, everybody's homeowner's insurance went up because we're in a wildland fire. And I noticed this year my homeowners went up a lot, and it really choked me. I went, whoa, how can this go up 4 or 5 times what it was? And one of the things I learned that I want to share with you, if you're experiencing sticker shock when you get your next insurance bill, raise your deductible. You're really only going to use your insurance to replace your house anyway. Take that deductible up. I understand you can also ask about something like less coverage, or of course you can always pay extra for earthquake or volcano. Just kidding, I don't think they have volcano insurance. Anyway, earthquake, flood, things, you can add extra, but you can also reduce it. So if you have sticker shock, think about raising your deductible, because you're only going to use it for something catastrophic. So you might as well pay less during the year. Okay, so that was one thing, spring yard cleanup and get your insurances taken care of. Okay, also May is coming soon. Maybe the show will be shown. And I just thought I'd remind you, May Day was rooted in agriculture. Springtime festivities were filled with song and dance. May Day has a long history and many traditions in England, which came to America. It's rich in history for celebrating the return of spring. So this is the time of year halfway between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. And learn about some of the traditions by reading about it. I remember when I was young, and some of the older people listening, they used to have a May Day celebration at my school, and everybody'd take a colored ribbon and go around in the May Day flagpole or maypole dance or something. But the idea is that it might be a good time for you to make a little basket for a neighbor or a friend or a shut-in, where you give them some seeds, or what else can you put in it? People give each other a basket. You can use anything and paint it, a seed pod or something. Just cover it with paper and fill it with tissue paper and put a few trinkets and cookies and candy and seed packets and cheer somebody up. This is kind of, May Day is coming up. I like to have helpful hints from Heloise, and I always like to remind you, it doesn't hurt to remind you again, don't forget to turn off your social media. If you have a computer, a cell phone, a laptop, you want to remember to turn it off and let it completely reset. And not just because you're having trouble, it's just a good thing to do every few days or something. But also it's so important to clear your history. If you surf the internet, you want to go to Safari, to that little box, and get rid of all that old windows of things that you've been searching. Clear that memory. I use Bing. I like Bing because they give you a wonderful photo around the world every day, something new and wonderful. So I like Bing as my search engine. So I have to go and clear all my windows I've kept open. In my mind, if those windows aren't open, maybe I'm not getting as many, what do you call it, where people are trying to see what you're searching, and then they want to offer you, if you've ever noticed, you search something and then all of a sudden you get 6 more offers of what you might be interested in. We really need to realize that everything we do, of course, it's catching up with people now, texts and emails and things that have been saved. Okay, so you want to be sure and update the contacts in your phone. I always said to people, if you just all of a sudden dropped your phone and you couldn't retrieve those phone numbers, that's another reason to have a calendar and just put some of the most important phone numbers on the top. Now, some people are able to put a new chip in another phone and it got saved, but I just want to remind you, if there's some important phone numbers, you want to write them down somewhere where you can save them. You want to remember something. I was talking about what you can do when you go shopping. It's really important that we check our receipts. As we come out of a store, my to-do list now is to just really quick and glance at that receipt, and did I pay what I thought I was paying? One thing to look for. And secondly, sometimes a computer cash register will go boop, and it'll charge you twice for an item. So just really quickly, money's tight, let's all look at our receipts and make sure that we were charged what we thought we were going to pay. And before you leave, and that way you can go back in and say, oh, this was marked on the shelf for $3 less, and you can get your money back. And now might help towards a gallon of gas. You also want to, with your computers, check your security. Just even call and ask, like your cell phone, Verizon, call and talk to somebody, or your AT&T or your T-Mobile, and just say, if I'm doing the regular updates, is there anything else I need to do for privacy or security? It doesn't hurt to talk to your local person that tenders in your phone. So be sure and clear your memory and save the important information. One of the things I found out that I was doing is, if I saw something interesting on TV, I would catch it on my phone and send it to my girlfriend. Well, all of those little 20-second, 1-minute clips were adding up and taking up a lot of my space. So it kept telling me, your phone's full, and I was like, how can my phone be full? And I realized that I could clear those anything in your messages that is like a video, you want to get rid of that and clear it. It'll help your phone go faster if you can get rid of that. So, let's see. I also want to remind you, because I had trouble making a phone call today, that Siskiyou County Telephone, if you're making calls in this area, it used to be you could just dial Dunsmuir 235, whatever the number, McLeod 964, Mount Shasta used to be 926, it's also 925. And let's see, Weed was 938, and Wairika was 841, 842. But it's very important now that you add 530. If you don't, it'll say this number's no good anymore, and you might think, oh, I know that's a good number. So be sure and remember that if you're dialing in Siskiyou County, you need to use the area code 530, or you're going to have trouble getting through. And it may still be a good number, right? Okay, so I want to talk about it being spring, and we're working in our garden and growing lettuce and things. Everybody should maybe even just a little plant a tomato right at your door. But then we need to talk about reducing food waste. They do studies about, you've probably seen that commercial where the little girl says, Mom, can we get strawberries? And it shows the strawberry being picked, put in the container, coming home, getting in the refrigerator, and then going bad. We need to be better about not wasting food. All of us, me too. And it just reminds us to, some people are really good about using all their food and shopping very efficiently, but sometimes I need to freeze more things maybe. So I want to talk about reducing food waste, and that's one thing that we can all do, that we cannot put green vegetables and things in our food that turns into gas when it gets into a landfill. So we want to think about composting. I live in a rural area. It's kind of tough to do because the bears and raccoons and all the critters think I'm feeding them. So last year I had a little trouble with my garden, and everything I tried to grow got shared with critters. So I'm not sure how much time I have. Am I really down to 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my time is up. Okay, well, I'll have to talk to you again about I was going to talk to you about getting involved in your community and just looking at what jobs you could get, whether it's school board or council or city planning, board of supervisors. I think everybody needs to be getting involved locally. I want to talk about 1 second about senior resources. I want to remind you out there, is there anybody out there that is 60 years old and you're spending money on gas? You need to know that all over this county there's a food service senior nutrition project, and they make regular lunches in Mount Shasta 4 days a week. There's different places to pick up all the way out to Etna and up in Wairika and Weed, Dunsmuir. You need to call and find out about that, because a meal that you bring home and you can eat then or eat later is just helps you a little bit as money's tight and costs have been so much up. So if you know anybody 60 on a fixed budget, please encourage them to sign up for the Senior Nutrition Project in your area. They also, if you're homebound, they deliver meals. Okay, if I'm wrapping this up, gosh, there's so many other things I wanted to tell you and I don't have time. Okay, well, let me see, let me remind you this, that saving water, when I'm watching Saving Water, You Can't Drink Oil. I want to talk about, it's not just solar power and electric cars, it's about healing the ecosystem. So when I talk about water, we need to protect our water. It seems like we're going to all these planets, and what's the first thing we look for? Water! Let's save the water here on Earth. So I think we all need to not let our elected officials get rid of EPA protection. Okay, I had one note here as I leave for the word for the day is one candle can light a whole room. I've said that before, but I want to remind you that you can cheer people up if you come in and think of something positive to say, and accept the things you're powerless about. We all have something that didn't go the way we wanted, but we have to kind of leave it yesterday and realize every day is a new opportunity. Every day is a new opportunity to make it better. So thanks for joining me. I'm on Monday nights and Saturday noon. My show is called These Times, Therese Swenson. Thanks for joining me, and get involved in public access and write a letter to the editor and volunteer at the library and just be glad that we're opening up our societies and our communities now. Protect yourself and enjoy spring. Thanks. See you next time. Therese Swenson.